togetherness. And we looked at Acts chapter 2, verse 42, and we were taking from there 7 points. We took that this early church were together in terms of their location, together in terms of their devotion to one another. They were together in terms of their belief. They were together in terms of fellowship, connecting with each other in smaller groups. They were together in terms of their worship. They were together in terms of prayer, in terms of giving and caring and looking after one another. There was one thing that was not in there that is absolutely amazing when you consider if that's the push that we've been making, and you look at where we're at now, where the world has turned itself upside down, and the very thing that we were pushing for is now the exact opposite had happened. We're not together in the traditional sense, we're in isolation. That's a little bit of irony there at the end of the day. And that one thing wasn't one of those 7 things that we said. Together in isolation? Is that possible? Could we actually do that as a church? Will it not destroy our nation? Will it not destroy the church? If we can't hook up, we are people who need one another. But actually, when you think about together in isolation, it was very much a part of Jesus' practice and his life. Even though we're isolated, we can still be together, firstly in terms of who we're following, and that is Jesus. We are following him. So across the globe, not just in the UK, not just in Romford, but across the globe, there are Christians everywhere. And the one thing we have in common is Jesus. We are following him. So although isolated, we are united and together in who we follow. We're united also in the example that he sets, because he took time in isolation. He took time to be with the Father. He took time, for example, in the desert when he withdrew there for 40 days. He was there, just communing with the Father, preparing himself for the 3 years of ministry and then the cross that was to come. He was in isolation. So many times we see the words, he withdrew. When he was with crowds, so often he took time then to withdraw from the crowd and to be alone again with the Father. He withdrew into Gethsemane. He didn't want folks with him, but in the end, again, he was on his own at the most crucial time of preparation, knowing the cross was imminent. Isolation. He sets the example that isolation actually is very much part of our Christian life, just as much as being together physically. And the thing is, he taught us to do the same. He told us, Matthew chapter 6, verse 6, he said, when you pray, go into your closet, go into your room, in other words. Don't be around folks. Take time for you to be alone with the Father. Joshua 1, verse 8 says, do not let this book of the law depart from out of whose mouth? Your mouth. You. There is a time when, as individual Christians, we have to take responsibility for our own lives. We're not totally dependent upon the ministry of the church. We have to take responsibility for our own lives and build our relationship with the Lord. This is the time which we're in. This is a real example of that now, and we need to really, if we've not been doing that, step up and take responsibility for making sure in this period, however long it lasts, that number one, we take responsibility for looking after our own spiritual life in Christ. God's promise is, I will never leave you or forsake you. And so although we're not together physically, God is still with us in isolation. If it's me on my own or with my family, the unit of my household, God is with us. He will never leave us. He will never forsake us.